Hello and welcome to George Past the Post. Those of you who, and I'm sure there's many of you, who follow my various other videos will know that there's something a bit different about this one. And you're right, and there are two things that are different. The first, as I'm sure will come as a great relief, is for once you don't have to see my face. And the second thing is, yes, that is a spreadsheet that you can see in front of you. Now, CNN's John King has the magic wall. Jeremy Vine of the BBC has the swingometer. Steve Kornacki has the big board on MSNBC. But I, George Cord, election nerd, I have my election spreadsheets. But we're going to have to zoom in. So this video is going to be about the elections in America that took place on Tuesday. The numbers that you're about to see are accurate as of basically Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon. Yes, this is going to be an experiment, so bear with me. So we're going to look at the three elections that attracted the most attention. And who knows, if this goes well, I might do another video about some of the other things that occurred. So let's just look at what happened in New Jersey, Virginia, and in New York. So let's start with New Jersey. Hopefully you can see this. If you can't, it's not going to work, but never mind. So as you see, in 2021 we had a very close race between the Democrats and the Republicans. The Democrats won by about 3 points. But on Tuesday, this time, the Democrat candidate, Mikey Sherrill, beat the Republican Jack Ciattarelli by 13 points, which was somewhat of a surprise. This was expected to be a much closer race, but the Democrats managed to win with an increased margin. I'll give a bit more background about all of these races and the context in a moment, so don't worry, in case you were wanting that. So as we can see, yes, a 5% increase for the Democrats, almost an exact 5% drop for the Republicans. And note an increased raw vote of 3.2 million voting last time. So let's go to Virginia. Now you'll notice here, back in 2021, Glenn Youngkin, the Republican, won the election, beating Jerry McAuliffe, who was trying to come back to be governor again, but failed narrowly. This was very close. It was a 1.9 point race. The Republicans managed to win. But look, this is where if America had the swingometer, and I really think they should have it, it wouldn't have broken the swingometer, but that's a pretty substantial swing there in 2025 to the Democrat candidate Abigail Spanberger, who defeated the Republican Winsome Earl Sears. Apologies if I've mispronounced the name or got it completely wrong. And you'll see there that's a substantial swing of about 8%. And it was a swing in New Jersey, but it was 5%. 5% swing, 8% swing. And again, look, more people voted in 2025 than in 2021, and that's before we even got every single vote counted. Now, let's go to New York. So, you might have heard about this one. So, in this election, I'm going on for too long. In New York, it was going to be a 3-horse race for a while, and it sort of in the end turned out to be a 2-horse race. Of course, Zoran Mamdani, the 34-year-old Democrat, just 2 years older than me, he has won the election for 2.4%. The independent is Andrew Cuomo, and there was a Republican, Curtis Sliwa. So here's my joke of the video. Running for New York Mayor, you had a Democrat, a Republican, and a Cuomo. I'll just pause for the laughter. So you'll notice in 2021 it was just a two-candidate race. Basically, you had the Democrat Eric Adams won easily with almost 2/3 of the vote. But this time there were, as you can see, three candidates. So Curtis Sliwa carried the banner for the Republicans again. The Democrats had a primary using ranked choice voting, but Cuomo was defeated by Mandani. So what usually happens in most American elections is you have a primary. It can be very contested, very, very close, but then everyone then rallies around whoever the winner of the primary was. And that's what happened in 2021. So there were many Democrats that ran in 2021. They didn't run as independents, but Andrew Cuomo did. And so you sort of had, you had a Republican, but you had a Democrat, and then you sort of had an independent who was a Democrat, but trying to appeal to Republicans and perhaps more conservative Democrats. But the strategy that Cuomo employed obviously failed. He tried to get the Republican candidate to drop out. Now, even if you assume everyone that voted for the Republican would have voted for Cuomo, that wouldn't have made any difference anyway. So there we have that result there, a historic result in New York. A very young mayor and a historic the first Muslim mayor of New York. So I promised some history. Let's zoom out. Goodness, it's been 7 minutes. But I want to explain the context of these results. So obviously, on the surface, it looks like the Democrats did very well in New Jersey and Virginia, and New York, obviously the Democrat won despite a challenge from another Democrat. But let's just look at the history. Specifically, this is going to work. Let's look at... Yes, it does work. Let's look at some history. Now, this basically is every New Jersey election since 2016. Well, every statewide, president or governor. And that's the margin of victory by the Democrat candidate over the Republican. So 2016, Clinton wins by 14 points. 2017, the Democrats win by 14 points against him. Not much difference. 2020, Biden wins by nearly 16 points. But look, in 2021-24, that gap narrows significantly. And this is what had led to some Republicans thinking, even though this was a reasonably reliable blue state in recent years and on the presidential level for many years, they thought they might at least, even if they couldn't win, they would keep this to a narrow margin, and that didn't happen. So the trend in New Jersey, which had been trending towards the Republicans, reversed with this cycle. Let's look at Virginia. You'll notice the one Republican win was obviously Glenn Youngkin. So again, in Virginia, it was quite close in the 2016 presidential election, the governor's race in 2017, even in the same cycle 8 years ago with Trump in the White House. And again, you can see obviously Biden wins by 10 points. But then Harris only won by 5.8, and in 2021, the Republicans won the governor's race. So again, the trend had been potentially that, this might have been a little bit closer, because 8 years ago, it was only an 8-point race. But look, that's a 14.5% win for the Democrats. So in the last decade, this is their best result. So whatever the context, whether you had a Democrat in the White House or Donald Trump, or so that was a significant result for the Democrats there. I included New York not because there's really much analysis to give, other than, the most sort of meaningless statistic is what I've done is I've taken Mandami's votes and measured them against Curtis Sliwa, so the first place and third place candidate, just for fun. There's a 43-point gap between them. But anyway, as you can see here, again, New York is a very strong Democrat area. And although even the presidential margin has narrowed, again, I included it because it wouldn't have felt right to ignore the New York history here. And obviously, while on paper it looks like the Democrats suffered a reduced margin, I've explained the context about Cuomo. So what we can take from that history is also that the presidential margin is always... No, it's not actually. I was going to make a point which the data doesn't back up, so I won't make it. So what that history shows, or allows us to look at some of the context, which is that these elections, even when you factor in the fact that they are off-year elections, a term I object to, because all elections are interesting, the margins do speak for themselves. So while you would have probably expected the Democrats to win these two, the margin was not guaranteed. And what I think is interesting is that, again, there's no election can predict the future. They can give you a snapshot, though, of what is happening, how voters feel right now. And right now, voters, at least those that voted, are saying that they are not happy with President Trump. I think there was a Wisconsin election earlier in the year, and a Republican strategist pointed out quite well that Trump is great at getting himself elected, but then also at energizing Democrats. So when Trump's in the White House, he energizes Democrats to vote against him. So I hope I've made some points. Well done on getting through 11 minutes, nearly 12. I'll keep going for another 10 seconds until we reach the 12-minute mark. So this was slightly different. We'll see what happens with this format. Maybe in future I will do more spreadsheets. Wouldn't that be exciting? So yeah, that's what happened in New Jersey, Virginia, and New York. It's a snapshot. It doesn't predict the future, as I say, but the trends are pretty clear. So yes, thank you for listening. Goodbye.